Hi, I'm back with Chapter 11, The Doctor Takes a Hand. Here's a picture. They're all walking. I don't know who that is. It looks like it might be the doctor carrying one of the children. Or maybe it's Henry. Let's find out. The days went by happily for the Boxcar Children. They found more treasures in the dump, and Henry worked every day for Dr. Moore. One day at high noon, Henry came home with some new stockings for Benny. Benny was very happy about them and made everyone admire them. And when Jessie looked at the new stockings, she had a happy thought. She carefully washed Benny's old stockings and hung them up to dry. That afternoon, she and Violet sat down with the work bag between them to make a bear for Benny. "You must make a tail too, Jessie," begged Benny, watching her put on the arms and legs and the head. "Bears don't have tails," said Jessie. "Your old bear didn't have a tail." "But this bear must have a tail," replied Benny, knowing that Jessie would put on 2 tails if he asked her to. "What kind of tail?" asked Jessie at last. "Oh, a long and thin one," said Benny happily, "so I can pull it." "Benny!" cried Jessie, laughing. But she made a tail long and thin, just as Benny had ordered. "What's your bear's name, Jessie?" asked Benny, when at last the bear was handed over to him. "I haven't thought about a name," replied Jessie. "Why don't you think up a nice name for him?" "Well, you did make him out of my old stockings, so let's name him Stockings." "All right, Stockings it is," agreed Jessie, trying not to laugh. And from that day on, the bear's name was Stockings as long as he lived, and he lived to be a very old bear indeed. One afternoon, Jessie saw how long Benny's hair was getting, and so she cut it with Violet's scissors. Benny stood quietly while she did it. But while his sisters were getting supper, he said to himself, "Jessie cut my hair. I'll get Violet's scissors, and I'll cut Watch's hair. He will look much better." He found Violet's scissors, and he made Watch lie down on his side, and then he began to trim off his hair. Benny said, "Good dog, Watch. You are Jessie's dog, and so I will cut a big J in your hair. Hold still now." Watch lay still, and Benny began to cut a J into his fur. It was not a very good J, but it looked a little bit like one. Here's a picture. There's Benny with his scissors. He's cutting a J into the side of Watch's fur. Oh my goodness. Silly. Soon Benny had cut off all the hair on one side with the J in the middle. He stood admiring his work, and just then Jessie came to see what he was doing. "Benny!" she cried. "What are you doing?" Then she began to laugh. "Oh, Violet, you must come and see this," she called. "Watch looks so funny." Jessie laughed and laughed until she almost cried. Violet laughed until she did cry. Then she could not stop crying. She cried and cried. At last, Jessie made up her mind that Violet was really sick. "You must go to bed, Violet," she said. She helped her carefully into the boxcar and put pine needles all around her and under her head. And then she wet a handkerchief in the cold water of the brook and laid it on her little sister's hot head. Why do you think her head is hot? Do you know what that means? It means she has a fever. "I wish Henry would come home," said Jessie. "What shall we do?" When Henry came at last, he looked at Violet and said that maybe she had a cold. "Maybe she sat too long by the brook," he said. "If Violet is very sick, she ought to go to the hospital," said Jessie. "Yes, I know that," said Henry, "and we don't want her to go to a hospital if we can help it. We would have to tell them her name." "Yes," said Jessie, "and then Grandfather could find us." The 2 older children sat up with Violet. They put cold water on her head, but after dark Violet was shaking all over, and Jessie was frightened. She covered Violet all over with pine needles, but she was still shaking. They could not get her warm. "I'm going to get Dr. Moore," said Henry. "I'm afraid Violet is very sick." And then Henry started to run. He ran even faster than he had run in the race. Down the hill, into the town he ran until he came to Dr. Moore's house. "Please come," he cried. "Violet is very sick." The doctor said, "Come, quick, and get into my car." He did not ask Henry which way to go, but the car went up the right road. When they came to the woods, he said to Henry, You stay here in the car." He ran alone up the hill to the boxcar. It seemed like magic that he knew where to go. When Dr. Moore came back, he was carrying Violet in his arms. Jessie and Benny and Watch came too, and they all got into the car. "Are you going to take her to a hospital?" asked Henry. "No," said Dr. Moore. "She's not that sick. I'm going to take her to my house." When they stopped at last, Dr. Moore carried Violet into the house and said to his mother, "Violet is very sick. We must put her to bed." Mrs. Moore hurried around, opening beds and bringing pillows, and Mary came after the kitchen with hot water bottles. After a while, Violet began to get warm. Then Mrs. Moore came to get the other children. "You must stay here all night," she said. She gave Henry and Benny a big bed, and Jessie slept in a little one. But Violet was so sick that the doctor did not go to bed at all. He did not leave her side. He sat by her until 10 o'clock in the morning. Before 10 o'clock, a man came to see the doctor. Mary told him he could wait, so he sat down in the living room. Soon Benny came in. "Where is the doctor?" asked the man crossly. "He is up in Violet's room," answered Benny. "Well, this means $5,000 to him if he will come down," said the man. $5,000? Who do you think the man is? Can you guess? "Oh, he can't come now," said Benny. "What do you mean, boy?" asked the man. "What is he doing?" "He's taking care of my sister, Violet," said Benny. "She is sick." "And you mean he wouldn't leave her even if I gave him $5,000? asked the man. "Yes," answered Benny. "That's what I mean." And then the man said, "You see, I have lost a little boy, and I think the doctor knows where he is. My little boy is just about as old as you are." "Well, if you don't find him, maybe you can have me," remarked Benny. "I like you." "You do?" cried the man. "Come and climb up in my lap." Benny climbed into the man's lap. "Have you got a dog?" he asked. "No," said the man. "We don't have a dog. But you can see him in my watch. Here it is." Benny looked at the dog. "He looks like a very good dog," he said. "I have a dog too. His name is Watch." Just then, Watch, the real Benny's real dog, came in with Dr. Moore. "Good morning," said Dr. Moore. "Benny, you can go and play with Watch if you want." So Benny and Watch ran out of the room, and the man said, "Dr. Moore, where are my grandchildren?" "That little boy is one of them," said Dr. Moore quietly. "That beautiful little boy?" said the man. "Yes," said Dr. Moore. "They are all good children, but they are afraid of you. They are afraid that you will find them." "How do you know that?" asked the man. "They have changed their names," said the doctor. He looked at the man in a queer way. "The boy changed his name on field day. You saw him then." "I saw him? What did he change his name to?" asked the man. "Henry James," said the doctor. "The running boy?" cried the man. "The running boy, Henry James, who won the free-for-all? I loved that boy. So I am his grandfather?" There's the running boy, Henry James. It seems the mystery is solved. Chapter 12. The suspense is killing me here. Chapter 12. James Henry and Henry James. We'll be back in a minute.